30, 35 down the sidelines to the 40, makes a move to the 45, the 50, he's to the 40, he could go, he's on the 25, the 20, they dive at him, they miss him, he's in the end zone, touchdown!
Throws off his back foot, wide open man in the end zone, leaping grab, touchdown!
Launches the throw down toward the goal line, going up, ball tipped in the air, caught, touchdown!
Reverses his field, got a block from Pittman, going deep, got a man in the end zone, touchdown!
It's a man's game tonight now, you know that. Everybody watching tonight.
And now it's the Undefined Blitz with Chad and JC.
And welcome everybody once again to the Undefined Blitz right here on undefinedradio.com. Appreciate you guys and gals tuning in as we bring you Rivalry Week. It is that time of the year. We are mostly all the way through the college football season. We're a little over halfway through the NFL season. And everything is heating up. Playoff races are heating up. College football playoff race is heating up and about to get chaotic after this week.
Yeah, the Heisman race is well underway. Conference championship games are in 2 weeks. Next week we'll have Army-Navy, which will be the last regular season game.
Yep.
We're in the thick of it in college football. Some division races are starting to take shape in the NFL. Well, we're halfway through. We've got football basically all weekend.
Yes.
We got games Thursday in the NFL. Of course, college games will be Friday and Saturday.
It's going to be a wild week.
This is probably the single best weekend for football all year.
Oh, yeah. Everything is exciting at this point. It's Thanksgiving. Football starts early Thursday. So we got it Thursday. We got it Friday. We got it Saturday and Sunday.
You got Packers-Lions,
yep,
which is a division rivalry game.
That's right.
You got Cowboys-Commanders.
Another division rivalry game.
I forget what the Sunday night game or the Thursday night game is in the NFL,
Yeah.
But Thursday night college football, you got the Egg Bowl.
That's
Ole
right.
Miss and Mississippi
Big-time
State.
rivalry. Talk has
rivalry.
Started already.
Ole Miss is trying to get to 10 wins for only the second time in school history. Mississippi State's trying to get bowl eligible, so they have to beat Ole Miss if
That's
they want
right.
to go bowling.
So there's a lot on the line
A
here.
lot on the line just on Thursday,
Yeah, that's how you get to the rest of the week.
Right, and then we got rivalry games in college football on Friday. We got more rivalry games, including Ohio State, Michigan on Saturday. It's going to be a huge, huge weekend in the football world.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about a few of these games that happened this weekend. There were a lot of nothing games that happened, but some of them had some big, unfortunately, some big things happen in some of these games that should have meant nothing. And we're going to talk about those. We had Texas beating Iowa State 26-16.
In a game that really wasn't as close as that score would lead
Oh,
you to believe.
no. Texas was never really in danger of this. But what I thought was funny going into this.
But they started
right?
slow.
They
That
start
was the problem.
again, and they can't afford this. They got a big game against Texas Tech coming up this weekend. We'll talk about that. But going into the game, one of Iowa State's players, offensive lineman named Hubbard, was talking about how the Longhorns had their noses in there, they need the egos checked and all of this good stuff. That comment did not serve him well because Sweat, Ford, all of them, after that game was over with, even Sarkisian was on Twitter like, just mocking this, right? And fairly so. If you're going to talk, you better expect the blowback if you don't back it up. Now,
it'd been one thing if Iowa State lost, 25-26, and it was a nail-biter.
That's
came
right.
Down to the last second. But
exactly.
Iowa State was really never in a situation to try to win this game.
No, they really weren't. They really couldn't do anything to stop Texas for the most part. It was mostly Texas stopping Texas.
And so this was C.J. Baxter's first start since week one.
Yep, rushed for 100 yards.
He was supposed to be the week one starter. He was the week one starter, but Jonathan Brooks took over that role because he was just dominant this year.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, Texas lost him last week against TCU for the rest of the season with torn ACL. But, yeah, C.J. Baxter this week, 20 carries, 117 yards.
Yeah.
Impressive showing for that young man.
Well, as we had Ole Miss beating UL Monroe 35-3.
In a game that was entirely too close until the third quarter.
And what is going on with that Ole Miss offense? I mean, I watched this game. It's like
the final
lethargic.
score of this game should have been the score at halftime.
That's right. It really should have been.
That's what it should have been.
And it wasn't that Ole Miss was ever in danger. So but against an opponent like UL Monroe, you should put up 60, 70 points.
Yeah. And Ole Miss in that third quarter, though, like the way their offense operated in the third quarter, it's like Jackson Dart couldn't do anything wrong. His receivers were catching anything. Didn't matter where the ball was placed.
Stupid.
Just making
kinds of ridiculous catches.
Dayton Wade.
Yes.
No, he's not going to be a Heisman finalist. He's not going to be a Biletnikoff winner.
That's right.
We all know that's Marvin Harrison Jr.
Exactly.
But just watch Dayton Wade's highlights from this season. They are jaw-dropping. The ridiculous circus one-handed catches. You know, like everyone thinks back to the OBJ catch against Dallas.
Yeah.
He has made that catch at least 5 times this season.
Which is nutty. It's like he's scared. Like his confidence is so high.
He doesn't care where the ball is.
Just get it around me.
He did it against.
I'm going to get it.
He did it against UL Monroe this week. He did it against Vanderbilt. He did it against LSU. Did it against Georgia last week. There was one other one. I can't remember who they were playing, but kid's tremendous.
He is.
And it's like Ole Miss seemingly never runs out of an embarrassment of riches at the wide receiver position.
Oh, it's crazy. Georgia beat Tennessee 38-10. You know, they were consistent all the way through this game, really. So the highlight of that game was Dolly Parton at the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, that was it. You had Ohio State beating Minnesota 37-3. Michigan gets by Maryland 31-24.
I told you to watch out for the Terrapins.
And it was close.
This
is a close game.
If Baby Tagovailoa doesn't throw 2 picks in this game, it might have gone differently.
It could have. Florida State blows out North Alabama.
Also, that was the 1,000th win in Michigan program history.
Which is nutty.
By the way.
That's crazy.
Huge monumental victory there.
That's massive. Florida State beats North Alabama 58-13. But
however,
they might have suffered the greatest loss of the weekend by far.
Star quarterback Jordan Travis goes down. I forget what they said the injury was, but he's done for the year. He's also put out a statement saying that he's moving on from college football. So it raises questions for Florida State. They've got a big game this week against Florida in Gainesville.
Yes, they do.
Of course, Florida State is currently undefeated, so if they win and then win the ACC title game against Louisville, then it puts them firmly in the college football playoff. But now without their guy at the QB position and a Florida team who's sitting at 5-6 who wants to go bowling, and they also want to beat their rivalry and ruin those college football playoff hopes for them.
That's right.
Does it put Florida State in some kind of jeopardy going into this weekend's matchup against the Gators?
I think if the Gators were a better team, it would. If I'm Florida State, I'm worried about the Louisville game because Louisville's looked impressive.
They have, absolutely.
And we're going to talk about them in a minute, but they get by Florida, I believe. I'm not as worried about that game because of how bad Florida has just looked. I mean, they're so inconsistent. It's crazy. I think Florida State is such a good team. They can against a team like Florida, they can get by and win. It's the Louisville game that I worry about most for Florida State because now.
So if let's say Florida State beats Florida, they win by 1 or 2 points. Does that raise your level of concern for the Louisville ACC title game?
Well, of course it does. And like I said, because that's already my concern. But also what it's going to do is in the eyes of the CFP, that whole thing, they'll be like, you're just not as worthy to be in there without all your main star if you're just barely going to get by lowly Florida. And unfortunately, that's just how it looks.
But with Louisville being as good as they are, let's say they beat Louisville in the same fashion.
Now, if
they beat Florida and Louisville by 1 or 2 points.
If they can go in there and beat Louisville, because
they'll still be undefeated and they'll be conference champions.
But Louisville's going to be the game to where they have to win.
Oh, absolutely.
And by that I mean they can't afford that loss, and they can't afford. I don't know if they can even afford a close game. But here's the thing, though: we've got Ohio State, Michigan.
Right.
All right. So there's about to be an opening somewhere here. There's about to be an opening somewhere here.
But then the argument,
quite possibly,
the argument will get made, as it always does,
Yep.
when in these type of situations where you got number 2 versus number 3 playing, and as long as it's not a blowout,
yeah.
like,
I mean,
if it's a close game,
then how can you say that one team's markedly that much better? It's like, oh, I got the better of you today, but these other teams, are they that much better than this number 2 and 3 team who just went to war?
But the CFP committee also says that they want to value the conference championship winners. And so I think it puts them in a situation where, because they made these statements publicly,
That was the problem.
it's going to put them in a situation where if Florida State's undefeated, even if they're winning ugly, but they win the conference championship and they're undefeated, like, they're in.
Yeah.
If Washington wins the Pac-12 championship and they're undefeated, they're in.
Yes.
Where this is really going to get dicey is the SEC title game.
It is.
Like, Georgia's looked badass the last 2 weeks.
They have.
Don't get me wrong. Against top 25 competition.
But who is awoken?
But the monster that is Alabama has come to life.
They have come to life. But they are not the same team that started this season.
So if Alabama wins the SEC title game and they're 12-1, and they're the SEC champion, they're going to get in over, the loser of Ohio State, Michigan.
I think so too.
But now that would, in that situation, that would leave one-loss Georgia, who played for their conference title.
That's right.
That would then also, if you're going to put in a non-conference champion, Georgia would get in over the loser of Ohio State and Michigan by virtue of having actually played in the conference title game.
Exactly.
Because whoever doesn't win Ohio State, Michigan doesn't play for their conference title.
Oh, yeah. Here's.
But then, if one-loss Texas
wins
the
conference.
Big 12.
That's right.
And their only loss is to Oklahoma, but they also
beat Alabama.
Beat Alabama.
That's right.
Does that raise them and get them in?
So that's what's great about this, right? Because that's what's great about the conversation.
Like, this is bonkers.
That's right.
Going into the final 2 weeks of the regular season.
Because any way you try to work this out is actually going to be correct and actually going to be wrong. Right? Right? Because it is because of all the factors. You have 4 spots, but this is going to be the biggest solidifier of the playoff expansion is this season. I think us having this conversation right now is why there needs to be a 12-team playoff, at least an 8-team playoff. I agree, because those 8 teams, top 8 teams, this weekend
and this season in general,
this is the wildness of what's happening here, which is what we've always wanted anyway. Is why they're going to expand the playoffs to at least 8 teams next year.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be complaining. There's going to be, well, I did this, and there's going to be, well, I beat them, but then they beat me. But then here this is.
So,
bam.
I saw the perfect explanation of college football math.
Yeah.
This past weekend, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. I'm going to see if I still have it. So this is college football math. All right. So Ohio, not Ohio State, but Ohio University, the Bobcats.
Yep.
They beat Iowa State this year. Iowa State then beat Oklahoma State. Well, Oklahoma State beat Kansas. Kansas beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma beat Texas. Texas beat Alabama. So by this logic, Ohio is better than Alabama.
Right, really? Isn't that crazy?
Like, you can go down such a rabbit hole with this stuff.
Yeah, Auburn looks like garbage. Alabama roll all over the ball. There's no question.
Yeah,
about that. This Iron Bowl game ain't your mama's Iron Bowl game.
Yeah,
this
not
is
going to be eventful at all.
This will be this is a true squash match right here.
Jalen Milroe is firing on all cylinders.
Oh, geez, that kid has found his stride, and that's scary for everybody else right now. But here's the thing though.
Granted, they did play an FCS team this week.
Oh yeah, but you look at the committee, because they're sitting there pulling what's left their gray hairs out. Right, they're sitting there going, "Oh my Lord!" Now, because they're going to have to answer the questions, because once this comes out, it's going to be put to them all, which is great, because because it is their job to give us the best playoff bracket possible.
Correct.
That is the whole point of the playoff system. Give us the best football possible. Well, now, you can argue.
I wouldn't say best football possible, but you have to give the teams that earned the opportunity the opportunity.
Well, but that's going to be the thing. If there's a lot of 10-1 teams or 11-1 teams, there's a lot of that's what I'm saying. So a lot of people have an argument. And if we're going to go by conference championships, which ones are you giving priority over the other ones?
The Power 5.
So and I believe that's how it should be.
Power 5 ones will always have priority.
But these teams that are tough like this,
until next year when the Pac-12 is 2 teams.
But it's to me, it's always meant to be set up. You have the best football imaginable for your top spot. Because the thing was always 1 and 2, but this number 3 team was right there with them. Oh, let's have a playoff then.
I mean, because how many? Well, we've seen co-national champions.
Yes, we have. It's been a while, but we have.
Yeah, it's been about 20 years.
Yep.
2003, I think it was Auburn and I forget who they split it with, but I don't think Auburn played for the national title.
Was it LSU or Tennessee? Was it one of those?
Man, I don't know. I'll look it up. But
it's been a minute, so I can't remember.
So it's not unheard of. I mean, especially like back in the day when it was like the coaches poll national champion and the AP national champion, because there wasn't a national championship game. Everyone just played the regular season. So whoever would win those polls would be named national champion.
We had, as you're looking that up, we had Washington beat Oregon State 22-20 in a great game. But and Washington did what they had to do to win this football game.
So in 2003, it was LSU and USC. That's who it was.
Oh, USC. That's right. Okay. I thought LSU was involved in that. I just didn't know who it was with.
Yeah, it was LSU and Southern Cal.
We have Oregon beat Arizona State 49-13. Alabama rode Chattanooga 66-10. Mizzou beats Florida 33-31. Still rolling over there in Mizzou. Look, this team is hitting it. We're going to get to them in a minute.
Yeah, how about Harrison Mavis hitting the Gator Chomp after kicking the game winner?
That's right. Louisville beats Miami 38-31.
Closer game than anyone thought it would be.
Yeah. You had Penn State beat Rutgers 27-6. Oklahoma beat BYU 31-24.
Hey, the Storm and Mormons were game.
They were.
Like, they were ready.
They fought to the end of this thing. You had LSU beating Georgia State 56-14. Iowa beat Illinois 15-13.
And I'm pretty sure the under hit on that.
I would not be surprised. 28 points. It had to have. Notre Dame beats Wake Forest 45-7. Clemson beat North Carolina 31-20. You had Kansas State beat Kansas 31-27. And it's like the 4th straight time they beat them, or 5th straight, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But Kansas State, one of those teams, not necessarily getting enough respect this season.
Exactly.
Like they only have 3 losses. I'm going to see who their losses are to. Like, we know they lost to Texas.
Yep.
I think they lost to Oklahoma.
No,
they lost. Okay, so Kansas State, their losses were to Missouri, Texas, and Oklahoma State. So, like,
all top
decent,
teams.
Good
teams.
Squads.
That's right. Oklahoma State beat Houston 43-30, and Tulane beat Florida Atlantic 24-8.
Tulane sitting at 10-1 on the year. So here's the thing, too.
Yep.
I believe they were talking about this during the Texas game this weekend, and you'll have to bear with me. I don't exactly remember what they said. But if they move forward with a 12-team playoff,
yes,
the theoretical model is there's a 5+7 model where your Power 5 champions all get in.
Yep.
And then the next 7 best teams. But there's also a 6+6 model where it's your Power 5 champions plus the best group of 5 champion.
Yeah.
And then the 6 best teams after
I actually
that.
kind of like that. I like giving at least your group
in this situation, it would be Tulane.
It would be.
Who played in a New Year's Six Bowl.
That's right.
Who got down massively to USC in that game and then stormed back and pulled the upset of the Trojans.
So we can't say they don't necessarily belong. They're playing winning football right now.
Absolutely.
And like I said, they beat the Trojans. Let's look at we're looking at the AP Top 25 as it stands right now before tomorrow night's new CFP rolls out. We got Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Washington's at 4. So we've had Ohio State lead Michigan. We've had Washington jump Florida State, knocking Florida State out of the top 4.
Until this weekend.
Then you got Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Louisville, remaining in their position 6 through 10 or 6 through 9. Then Mizzou jumps to the number 10 spot. Penn State's 11, Ole Miss is 12, Oklahoma's 13, LSU is 14. Oregon State dropped all the way down to 15. Arizona 16, Notre Dame 17, Tulane down 1 to 18. Kansas State is at 19. Iowa, who is unranked, is now at 20. Oklahoma State's at 21. Liberty is at 22. Toledo's at 23.
Hey, look at Toledo,
who
man.
wasn't ranked either. You got James Madison, who dropped 6 to number 24.
After getting upset by Appalachian State.
Yep. And then Tennessee dropped all the way to 25 right there. That is your current AP top 25. And like I said, CFP comes out tomorrow night. We'll certainly have a bigger picture of what the CFP committee is thinking going into this weekend's game.
Tennessee is the only 4-loss team in the top 25, and you want to know why they're still in the top 25?
I would love to know why.
Because their losses are to number 1 Georgia.
Yep.
Then number 14 Missouri.
All right.
Then number 11 Alabama.
Makes sense.
And Florida early in the season.
Yeah, okay. That works. All right, let's look at some of these rivalry games this week. We mentioned Thursday at 6:30. We got Ole Miss and Mississippi State. This is not, as bad as Mississippi State has looked this season, this is not a gimme game for Ole Miss in any sense of that word, especially looking at how they fought with UL Monroe in the first half of that football game.
Yeah, but State doesn't have a head coach anymore.
They don't.
You know, they got to answer. Yes, they rolled over Southern Miss, but that's inferior competition.
That's right.
Now you're going against superior competition.
That's right.
And I'm not saying that Ole Miss is world beaters. We've seen that they're not.
Yeah.
But they are radically better than Mississippi State.
Now, this game will take place in Stark Vegas. The line is Mississippi by 10.5.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
All right. Then Friday, we've got Texas Tech taking on the Longhorns. The line is the Longhorns by 12.5 at home.
Yes, it should absolutely be the Longhorns. And what a great way to flip the bird at Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, who has literally spent this entire season on an anti-Texas vendetta.
It has been that too. I mean, just apparent. It's blatant.
He has come right out and said it.
That's right.
You know,
he is which is just petty, especially being a guy over the whole thing. But look, it's what it is.
That's because he's losing his stalwarts.
He is
in his conference.
He's losing the money, gravy wagon, gravy train.
Now he's getting Deion Sanders next year.
Yeah,
he's getting Colorado. He's getting Arizona State. He's getting Arizona, and I forget the 4th team that they're adding, but it doesn't make up for the revenue of Texas and Oklahoma.
No, definitely not. Speaking of Oklahoma, you got Oklahoma taking on TCU in Norman. So Oklahoma's favored by 11.
God, I would love for TCU to win that game.
Oh yeah,
and get to bowl eligible.
But they ain't gonna.
They're not.
They're not gonna win this game.
Oklahoma's too good.
You got number 16 Iowa taking on Nebraska. The line's Nebraska 1.5 at home. And what about this Nebraska team now?
Well,
I know their record doesn't indicate it, but man, the passion it looks like is back in Nebraska is what it looks like.
Well, Nebraska's lost 3 straight.
Yep.
At one point this year, they were 5-3, and now they're 5-6. They have lost to Michigan State close. They lost to Maryland close. They lost to Wisconsin close in their last 3 games.
Yep.
They had a dominant victory over Purdue, a decent win over Northwestern, a good win over Illinois. They got blasted by Michigan State, won handily over Louisiana Tech, won handily over Northern Illinois, lost to then number 22 Colorado back in week 2, and they lost barely to Minnesota in week 1. So they're losing respectively. And going against this Iowa team who can't score points, but they play tremendous defense.
That's right.
That's what's going to give Nebraska an opportunity, is the fact that even though Iowa's defense is so good, you don't really have to worry about Iowa putting up points on you.
That's right.
If you can score 3 times,
you can win this game.
Score 2 touchdowns and a field goal, you have a chance to win it.
That's right.
You know, and that's That would be Nebraska's saving grace, but it would also get them to bowl eligible, which is something they haven't been in a long time. And I think under the first season under Matt Rule, that would be a great success for where this Cornhuskers team has been for the better part of the last 15 years.
Well, I agree wholeheartedly. All right, we've got UTSA taking on Tulane. The Lions Tulane by 3 at home.
Yeah, I have no reason to go against Tulane. Still, Tulane's only loss this season is to Ole Miss.
We got number 9, Missouri, taking on Arkansas over at the Razorback Stadium. The Lions Missouri by 7.5 on the road.
That line seems kind of small.
It does.
I think Mizzou will win much bigger than 7.5.
All right, we got number 12 Penn State taking on Michigan State. The Lions Penn State by 21 on the road.
Now that sounds right. Michigan State's that bad.
Oregon State, number 11 Oregon State takes on number 6 Oregon. The Lions Oregon by 13.5 at home.
Well, I have a problem with Oregon being ranked above Texas because of the level of competition.
Yes.
But the two schedules that those two teams have played are not the same.
Yeah.
Oregon's one loss is to Washington, which looks really good, but Texas's one loss is to Oklahoma, but Texas has also beaten more ranked opponents than Oregon has. So this will pad the resume for the Ducks. But I would love to see the Beavers pull the upset here.
All right, then we move on to Saturday. We've got, and this is a big one, we've got number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Michigan. The line is Michigan by 3.5 at home without their head coach prowling the sidelines.
Well, last year, Michigan dominated this game.
Yes, they did.
I mean, absolutely embarrassed C.J. Stroud and company on their home field. I'm looking for Ohio State to avenge that. I do think Michigan's the better team, but I think an emotionally charged Ohio State team, a Michigan team without their head coach, I'm taking the Buckeyes on the road.
We've got Kentucky taking on number 10 Louisville. The Lions Louisville by 7 at home.
Yeah, Louisville should keep it rolling.
We've got Texas A&M taking on number 15 LSU. The Lions LSU by 10.5 at home.
Texas A&M also without a head coach. So I'm going to go with the Bayou Bengals.
We've got Colorado taking on number 22 Utah. The Lions Utah 21.5 at home.
Well, the hits have continually come for Colorado. I think they've now lost 5 straight games.
Yes.
The Oregon game and last week's game against Washington State being absolutely they got absolutely dominated. Then you had Cavassier Smoke of the Buffaloes come out and talk about how there's a lot of selfish play going on, a lot of selfish coaching going on. In a tweet that was seemingly aimed at Shedeur and Shiloh and Coach Prime Sanders.
Yep.
And then also Travis Hunter. The Utes taking some bad lumps in this, but man, the dysfunction in Colorado right now is so strong. The Utes have no choice but to win this game.
That's right. Number 8 Alabama taking on Auburn. The line is Alabama by 15, and that seems like a small.
Yeah, that seems very friendly towards Auburn. But yeah, I'm gonna take Alabama.
Number 17 Arizona taking on Arizona State. The line is Arizona by 11.5 on the road.
Arizona, man, respectably 8-3. You know, their 3 losses, they lost to Mississippi State in week 2. But then their 2 losses after that were against then number 7 Washington and on the road at then number 9 USC.
Yep.
Also, the Mississippi State loss was on the road, by the way. So, yeah, I'm taking the Wildcats all day in this matchup.
We got Vanderbilt taking on number 18 Tennessee. The line is Tennessee by 27 at home.
I don't know if Tennessee will win by 27, but they'll definitely win.
BYU takes on number 23 Oklahoma State. The line is OK State by 17.5 at home.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking the Cowboys in that one.
But Washington State taking on number 5 Washington. The line is Washington by 16.5 at home.
The Huskies should absolutely run away with this game, but I think we were talking about this off there. The Huskies and the Cougars have reached a contract extension to keep this rivalry going through 2028. And this is despite Washington departing for the Big Ten next year.
Yep.
So you'll still get that matchup for several years to come. which is something that more of these teams should do as they relocate and all the conference realignment that takes place.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we've had Florida State and Florida play each other forever, and they've almost always been in different conferences.
Number 4, Florida State taking on Florida. Line is FSU by 6.5 on the road.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with the Seminoles, but I'm just not incredibly confident in that.
We've got number 19 Notre Dame taking on Stanford. Line is Notre Dame by 26 on the road.
Yeah, Fighting Irish should get the dub there.
Georgia taking on Georgia Tech. Line is Georgia Bulldogs by 24 on the road.
Well, the silver lining for Georgia Tech is that they're already bowl eligible. The Dogs win big.
You've got number 25 Kansas taking on Cincinnati. Line is Kansas City by 6.5, or Kansas by 6.5 on the road.
Yeah, the Jayhawks should improve to 8-4 there. Not a good first season for the Bearcats in Big 12.
No. You got number 20 North Carolina taking on NC State. The line is UNC by 2.5 on the road.
Well, my love for Drake May is well documented, but the hits are about to keep coming for the Tar Heels. NC State pulls the upset at home.
And finally, you got Iowa State taking on number 21 Kansas State. The line is Kansas State by 9.5 at home.
Yep, taking the Wildcats for sure.
And there you go. It's gonna be a fun week of football this week. Good Lord.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely wild. Utah, we've talked about how their quarterback Cam Rising's been out all season. He is eligible to play in 2024 and plans to do so, returning for his 7th collegiate season.
That's wild. That is wild. Switching to the NFL, we are going to run through these games starting with Thursday night. You had the Ravens 34, the Bengals 20, and that wasn't even the headline coming out of that game.
Yeah, big news. Joe Burrow exits in the second quarter with a wrist injury. He's done for the season.
And that's not even the worst of it, because now the NFL is investigating Cincinnati on not reporting an injury that was already previously, they believed to be previously had going into this game, which you are required to do.
Yes.
You cannot hide injuries. When an injury, no matter how insignificant, occurs to a player, they have to be reported.
Now, Joe Burrow, I don't know if he was coached to say this or if he took it upon himself to say it, but he was asked about the injury, and he was also asked about the picture that surfaced of him in the compression sleeve, and he's like, it's completely different injury.
Yeah.
Unrelated. So, I mean, we'll have to see how that plays out, but the Bengals season is over.
Oh, yeah, it's done.
It's effectively done.
Yeah. Cowboys beat the Panthers 33-10 in a game that really wasn't that close. One of the greatest things coming out of this was Jerron Bland. Him and Micah Parsons. Look, Micah Parsons, that wrecking ball of a human being right there. Was great.
It was an underwhelming, dominant victory.
It was. Like they were never in danger.
They were never in danger of losing the game.
It just seemed lackluster the whole time.
The offense was just kind of average.
Yeah.
They were out there. They were doing what they had to do, but not doing anything particularly special. But the defense was on fire. I mean, you had Micah Parsons going out there, got 2.5 sacks. He becomes the first player in Cowboys history with double-digit sacks in each of his first 3 seasons.
Yep.
He's only the 9th player since 1982 to accomplish that.
I mean, you're talking about that's on a list with Reggie White,
J.J. Watt.
I mean,
T.J. Watt.
Yeah, I mean that is short, buddy.
I mean, DeMarcus Ware. Think about all the pass rushers of the last 40 years, and he's up there with the best of them. Also, news coming out of that game: Jimmy Johnson, former Dallas Cowboys head coach, is going to be enshrined at the Cowboys Ring of Honor.
Which is about time.
December 30th, 1923, by the way.
That was hilarious.
If you missed
Still
that.
was funny.
The Cowboys also have now won 5 games this season by 20 or more points, which is the most in a Cowboys season since 1978.
You know, it's funny, too. When the Cowboys play a bad team outside of Arizona, they thump them.
Yeah.
It's just a
Beat
thumping.
the brakes off of them.
Right. It's just a thumping.
But when they play a good team,
they
struggle bus.
They do. Whole time.
Hey, you should, because good teams are good for a reason.
That's right. But that's the thing. The Cowboys are going to have to start beating teams with a winning record. Well, the ones that they have actually on the schedule. because they didn't make the schedule, but the teams that they are facing, like they have to face Philadelphia again. They've got to beat teams like that.
Absolutely.
They have to do that. Otherwise, it's great. You put up a decent record against bad teams. That doesn't get you anywhere but a first round or second round loss in the playoffs. So I'm anxious to see what they can do as they get more comfortable. It looks like they've gotten a lot more comfortable in their scheme, offensively especially. Defense is rolling. Deron Bland, when he did that last pick six of his, the fourth one of the season, by the way.
Yeah, which ties an NFL record.
He stepped right in that like a wide receiver, but he used to play wide receiver. But what a beautiful catch and run.
He was trailing on that route.
Exploded
all the way
through
across
it.
the field. Now,
that was wild.
It was a bad read by Bryce Young because Tommy Tremble was wide open.
Yes, he was.
He was uncovered.
Yep.
Literally right behind that.
Yeah.
On the backside of that route. Now, Deron Bland, he was the 22nd cornerback selected in the 2022 NFL draft. Since being drafted, he's played in 26 games, 15 starts, 87 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 18 pass breakups, 11 interceptions with 4 pick sixes, all 4 of those coming this season. His QB rating when targeted, 59.5.
That's stupid.
Compare that to the first-round corners drafted last year in 2022. Derek Stingley, 52 tackles, 1 interception, 85.5 BR. Sauce Gardner, 106 tackles, 2 picks, 68.3 QB rating. Like we all know, Sauce is good.
Yeah.
Trent McDuffie, 95 tackles, no picks, 89 flat quarterback rating. And Kyer Elam, 55 tackles, 2 interceptions, giving up a 97.6 quarterback rating. Staying on Deron Bland, he joined a list of players who caught their 4th touchdown pass of the season yesterday.
Oh my God, this is bad if you're an Atlanta Falcons fan.
So Saquon Barkley caught his 4th touchdown of the season yesterday, his 3rd and 4th. Devontae Adams caught his 4th touchdown of the season yesterday, and Deron Bland caught his 4th touchdown pass of the season yesterday. If you want to look at teams with the most pick sixes this year, there are currently 13 teams tied with 1.
Yeah.
You've got the Giants who have 2. The Panthers have 2. The Colts have 2. The Jaguars have 2. The Seahawks have 2. And Deron Bland has 4.
That's wild. So crazy. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. Because this kid, when Trayvon Diggs went out, you're thinking, oh, crap, here we go. And all he's done is step up and be a playmaker. That one yesterday was the most impressive of all of his.
And what are you going to do? Are teams going to not throw to Deron Bland? Because then your option is you got to throw at Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah. It's not like he's bad. Right.
Like he might be older and might have lost a step, but he's still good.
Exactly. Which it was crazy. That was wild.
So with 7 games left, do you think Deron Bland gets another pick six this year?
Considering the teams he still has to play?
He's done 4 in 10 weeks.
They have to play Washington twice.
So their next 5 games, they've got Washington, Seattle, Philly, Buffalo, and Miami.
I think there's a high possibility he could. There will be some opportunities there.
Josh Allen does nothing but throw interceptions.
That's right.
So there's plenty of opportunities.
There'll be a lot of opportunities there.
Tua's thrown several interceptions. Jalen Hurts has thrown several interceptions. Like there will be a chance for him to do this. Speaking of guys who are maligned for throwing interceptions, Dak Prescott is now PFF's highest graded quarterback this season with an 89.4.
Look, Dak is rolling right now, and he is. I mean, since he started running the ball and put more activity in his feet when he needs to, it's meant the world to how this offense is transformed a little bit, because now you kind of have to be mindful if you're guarding him.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows he's not going to outrun the entire defense, but first downs are first downs, buddy. I mean, crucial. And he's showing that he can pick it up on 3rd and 13 if he has to.
Dak Prescott is currently on pace for like 4,700 yards. I want to say it was like 35 touchdown passes, 10 interceptions, and a QBR of like 100 point something.
Yeah.
It's insane the pace that he's on, the trajectory he's on. And while that's going on, the Cowboys defense has extended their streak that they've had back since week 1, where they have still yet to let a receiver or a running back go over 100 yards on them.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Chuba Hubbard had 10 carries for 57 yards. Adam Thielen was the leading receiver for the Panthers. He had 8 receptions for 74 yards.
Dude, I'm telling you, defense. That defense is so good.
Defense is good. Special teams is good. They're rolling. Oh, I do have one more list on the Deron Bland thing that I would love to talk about.
All right.
Deron Bland has as many or more touchdowns than each of these 1,000-yard receivers. Jalen Waddle,
Yep.
Amari Cooper, Chris Olave, OBJ, Brandon Cooks, DK Metcalf, Christian Kirk, DJ Chark, Tyler Boyd, Garrett Wilson, Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins. Now, Justin Jefferson has only played 5 games.
That's right.
T. Higgins has only played 7. Terry McLaurin, Robert Woods, Michael Thomas, Cooper Kupp, who's only played 6 games, Chris Godwin, Juju, Debo, Darnell Mooney, Deontay Johnson, Kyle Pitts, Randall Cobb, and Allen Robinson.
Stupid. Again, still stupid.
And he plays corner.
It is. That's wild. All right, we had the Browns beating the Steelers 13-10. The Lions beat the Bears 31-26.
Yeah, the Lions are now 8-2 for the first time since 1962. To put this into perspective, the last time the Lions were 8-2, James Meredith became the first black man to be a student at the University of Mississippi.
Good Lord. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, schools were still segregated.
That's right.
There were different water fountains for human beings in the United States of America.
The Packers beat the Chargers 23-20. And I don't know what's going on.
Did you see that final drive of that game, the Packers Chargers? It was ineptitude of the highest regard by the Chargers. I'm talking about passes getting batted at the line of scrimmage. Now, to Justin Herbert's credit, even though he threw some terrible passes on that drive, he did put one right over the shoulder of Quentin Johnston, put it right in his hands. Johnston had no one around him, would have walked into the end zone. Just dropped it.
Jeez.
It's not like he caught a bullet coming right at him. I mean, it was literally
perfect pass.
Perfect pass over the shoulder on the sideline. All he had to do was secure and go. And just bobbled it and dropped it.
Oh, my God.
Would have won the game for the Chargers.
Dolphins beat the Raiders 20-13.
Respectable showing by the Raiders. The Dolphins, while, yes, they're 7-3 like the Cowboys, and I feel the same way about the Dolphins as I feel the Cowboys. Good team, not great.
Yeah.
Definitely beatable. Jalen Ramsey snagged his second interception of the season to secure the victory for the Dolphins there. The Raiders are now 2-1 with Antonio Pierce as head coach. This was their first true test, and they were, by and large, they were up for it. If they had just scored in the second half, who knows how that game goes.
Now the Giants beat the Commanders 31-19.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley, 14 carries, 83 yards, had 2 receiving touchdowns on the day. Sam Howell, though, 3 picks. He was moving the ball pretty well, but the 3 picks ultimately did him in. Of course, the Giants, what ultimately sealed the game for them was the pick 6 late in the fourth quarter.
Jaguars throttled the Titans 34-14.
As they should have. Trevor Lawrence had one of the worst games of his career last week. And so this was definitely a game for him to get everything back together. Calvin Ridley, huge game, 7 receptions, 103 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Texans beat the Cardinals 21-16.
Well, C.J. Stroud tried to give this game to Kyler Murray and company. He had 3 interceptions, but he had 336 yards and 2 touchdowns. Devin Singletary, 112 on the ground and a touchdown. That Texans offense, man, is fun to watch. They're only 6-4, but they're quietly 6-4.
Yeah. It's still in contention.
Oh, absolutely.
For their stuff. So they're 6-4 is not hurting
a game
them.
behind the Jaguars.
That's what I mean.
Now.
They're right there.
So they're a game behind Jacksonville and a game ahead of Indianapolis. Their losses they had a close loss to the Panthers, which was Bryce Young's first win. They had a close loss to the Falcons. They did get beat by 2 scores against the Colts, and then they got dominated in week 1 by the Ravens.
49ers beat the Buccaneers 27-14.
All the Brock Purdy problems have been corrected. 333 yards, 3 touchdowns. That defense of the 49ers absolutely dominated Baker Mayfield and company.
We have the Bills beat the Jets 32-6.
It was a slow start for Buffalo. They really kind of struggled out of the gate, despite the Jets being terrible. They really struggled.
Yeah.
They couldn't get in the end zone. But once the scoring started, it really didn't stop for Buffalo. Josh Allen, 275 yards, 3 touchdowns. Did have a pick, of course.
And we have the Rams beating the Seahawks 17-16.
Well,
And,
we talked about last week how there were like 5 games that were won on a field goal.
Yeah.
And on this one, a game was lost on a field goal as Jason Myers misses the potential game-winning field goal, and the Rams survive with the victory over the Seahawks there.
And we have the Broncos beating the Vikings 21-20.
That game was wild. Russell Wilson and company, they get down the field late. He throws the go-ahead touchdown, his only touchdown pass of the game. Throws it to Cortland Sutton in the corner of the end zone with about a minute left. The Broncos go for 2, and they don't succeed. And when this happened, it killed bettors all across the country. Because
it's the name of the game.
Yeah, because I think the over-under for this game was 42.5.
Oh, shoot.
The scores,
Damn.
41 total points there.
Oops. Tonight, you got the Eagles and the Chiefs. This ought to be a game.
Should be the game.
I mean, this is a Super Bowl rematch. I mean, this is a game.
Yeah, 8-1 Philadelphia against 7-2 Kansas City in Kansas City. I mean, you get Mahomes, you get Hurts, you get Brown, you get Kelsey, you get the other Kelsey, you get Swift. Like, the stars will be out for this one.
It will be.
Kansas City favored by 2.5 at home. I'm taking the Chiefs.
All right.
Also, I just want the Eagles to lose.
That's right.
Taking the Chiefs.
So we've got Thursday football. We got the Commanders, Cowboys, Lions, Dallas by 10.5 at home.
Thanksgiving Day games.
It
Love it. Yeah, Dallas should dominate the Commanders. Like, Sam Howell had a good game against the Cowboys in Week 18 last year when the Cowboys had nothing to play for. Cowboys have something to prove. So they should go out and absolutely wipe the field with Commanders and then go eat a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner.
Packers, Lions, Detroit by 7.5 at home.
Yeah, I look for the Lions to go to 9-2 on the season.
We got the 49ers taking on the Seahawks in the night game. The Lions, San Francisco by 6.5 on the road.
Well, that Seahawks victory or loss yesterday really looms even bigger because if the Seahawks had won, this would be 2 7-3 teams playing each other.
That's right.
For the lead in the division. San Francisco absolutely should win. I have my own rooting interest in the Seahawks.
Dolphins and Jets play Friday at 2 p.m. on Prime Videos. The line Miami by 9.5 this Friday.
The much heralded Black Friday game.
That's right.
Back when everyone thought Aaron Rodgers would be playing in this game.
Exactly.
Which would have been a huge game. However, he's not, and it isn't. Dolphins win.
Then we got Sunday. We got Saints, Falcons, Lions, Atlanta by 1 at home.
Man, all these divisional matchups. I love it.
Yep.
I'm going to take the Saints on the road.
Steelers, Bengals, Lions, Pitt by 1 on the road.
Yep, I'm taking the Steelers, not because their offense is any good. Man, the offense sucks, if we're being quite honest. It's just the Bengals don't have a quarterback now.
We got the Panthers, Titans, Lions, Tennessee by 3.5. These two teams have a total combined wins of 4.
Yeah, they are 4-16 off the season between these two teams. And Tennessee does have 3 of those 4 wins. Tennessee gets another one here. Tennessee improves to 4-7.
We got the Buccaneers and the Colts. The Lions, Indy by 2.5 at home.
Yeah, I'm going to roll with Indy as well. That AFC South is going to be real interesting going down the final stretch.
Well, we got Patriots, Giants, Lions, New England by 3 on the road.
Yeah, teams here are 5-16 on the season. New England is favored. Man, but New England's just so bad. It's hard for me to pick them.
They are awful.
Like they're terrible. Like the Giants are bad, but the Patriots are inept. So I'm going to take the G-men.
You got the Jaguars, the Texans, the Lions, Jacksonville by 1 in Houston.
Huge divisional game. Give me C.J. Stroud and company.
All right. We got the Browns, the Broncos. Lions, Denver by 2.5 at Mile High.
No, sir. That's Cleveland all day. I don't care if the quarterback is DTR or Joe Flacco. The weapons the Browns have and the defense that the Browns have should be more than plenty to get them the victory over the Broncos, who all of a sudden are 5-5.
Yes, they are. You got the Rams, the Cardinals. Line is even in Glendale.
I'm going to go with the Rams. Kyler Murray, I don't know if you heard this, got arrested today.
No, I didn't hear this.
Got arrested down in Austin.
Oh, Lord.
I didn't look into it. That's on me, but
No, I had not heard that.
who knows how it'll shake out. I'm just going to take the Rams.
Chiefs, Raiders. Line is KC by 9 on the road.
Yeah, I mean, that should absolutely be the Chiefs. The Raiders just aren't that good.
We've got the Bills and the Eagles. The line is Philly by 3.5 at home.
Well, this will be a bounce-back game for the Eagles after losing to the Chiefs tonight. So I'm going to take the Eagles to win there.
We've got the Ravens and the Chargers. Line is Baltimore by 4 on the road.
Lamar did jack up his ankle in that game against the Bengals on Thursday night, but he'll have the extended rest here playing the Sunday night game against the Chargers. Chargers can't get out of their own way anyway, so Baltimore should win that one.
And then finally, this Monday, we'll have the Bears and the Vikings, and we'll talk about that then. The current line is Minnesota by 3.5.
Yeah, Justin Fields is back, but it doesn't matter because Josh Dobbs is just playing so well for the Vikings. It's played well all season, really.
Right.
So I'm going to take Minnesota.
All right, folks, it's that time. We got to give out some awards. And, of course, if we're giving out awards, we got to start with this one. Drizzle Award time. Who is it? Who is it?
Man, there's a couple of guys I want to give this award to, and the only thing that's stopping me is the fact that they won. So even though they kind of stunk it up, they also did enough to get the job done.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to go. I mean, I'm looking at guys like Jared Goff. He had 3 picks yesterday.
That's right.
But the Lions won.
Yep.
C.J. Stroud had 3 picks, but the Texans won.
They did.
So that leaves me with a guy who also threw 3 picks and is the reason that his team lost, and that is Sam Howell of the Washington Commanders.
Oh, there you go.
255 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, completely did his team in. Any chance that they had of getting that win and improving to 5-7 to take on the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. Like, they're in the toilet. I honestly, from an emotional standpoint, I'm now expecting the Cowboys to just wreak havoc on the Commanders on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, in Arlington. So Sam Howell, man, you're not only my drizzler this week, you might be my drizzler next week.
There you go. All right, mine is Colorado. What a dumpster fire. Do you remember about 9 weeks ago when the future of Colorado looked bright? The hype train was rolling, the prime train going. And how off the rails has this sucker gone? You got their own team imploding. You got tweets coming out about the toxicity of that. Just the craziness going on at Colorado. It's not going to get any better. They are by far my drizzler of the week this week.
Yeah, I mean, they won their first 3 games, followed it up with 2 losses against teams that we thought were really good. Got a win back.
Yep.
We're 4-2, and then just have lost 5 straight since then.
It's been
against all manner of opponents.
That's right. So before we go to our big Kahuna Awards, let me give a little love here to one of our sponsors. Having trouble finding the right insurance for you? Tired of corporate insurance companies whose only concern is padding the bottom line? Story Insurance has been serving the local and surrounding communities in Mississippi and Tennessee for over 20 years. Need auto, home, life, farm, or business coverage? Richard Story can help you find the right insurance to match your needs for the best rates. Call 662-560-7021 or visit his office at 5234 Highway 51 North in Senatobia, Mississippi. Story Insurance. We've got you covered. All right, so we gave out the Drizzler. And when you do that, look, Mike Reel says his Drizzler's Zach Wilson, trash.
Oh, he could have the Drizzler every week.
Yes,
He really
could. I mean, we could give it to that one person, right? Because he is awful. Him or Mac Jones.
He might be our Drizzler of the year. Honestly, at this point,
we could have a Drizzler of the year winner.
An end of season award show.
I swear to God, man, how awful is he? All right, we gave out the Drizzler. It's time for that big Kahuna.
This is a tasty burger. You ever had a big Kahuna burger? Want a bite? They're real tasty.
Oh, and who is tasty this week? Who's the one that got it done?
This week it was one Bo Nix of of Oregon University or University of Oregon. I'm not sure how they arranged theirs, but Bo Nix 404 yards. He had 6 touchdowns in the game. All 6 of those passing touchdowns came in the first half. Dominant.
That's just wild.
Now, granted, they played Arizona State.
Sure.
However, he still went out there
and
just did work.
And how remember we used to crap on old Bo. Remember those days?
Yeah, when he played Auburn. And
it sucked so bad. He goes to Oregon. It was blah but then he
also playing lesser competition. But that's neither here nor there.
But he's out there putting it together in Oregon, and there you go. My big Kahuna that I'm homering it up. It's got to be Jerron Bland. Just because of what he's had to do stepping in for Trayvon Diggs. Nobody expected it. Nobody outside of that building expected any of this. And I'm not sure how many people inside. They knew what they had, and they put him out there because they were confident in him, but there's no way they knew he was going to do this. And yesterday's interception and the way he's played was like, scouting is a difficult thing anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
And also it depends on the school that you come from. And so you were just talking about he was 22nd DB picked back there, corner picked.
Yeah, 22nd corner picked in the 2022.
And look at this kid.
Pick.
He's setting NFL history right now. 4 pick sixes this season, and the one yesterday was just his closing the hands to get it and just not lay there and go, oh look, I intercepted the ball. The wherewithal to get up and bolt for the end zone, and his running ability after the catch.
I mean,
it was great.
He's played a season and a half of NFL football, and in that season and a half, leads the league with 11 interceptions.
Yeah. Mike said Jay Daniels 8 TDs.
He did. He did have 8 touchdowns.
Who they played this weekend?
Georgia State.
Was it State?
Yeah, Georgia State.
Yeah. And that's a good one.
I mean Jaden Daniels potentially a Heisman finalist, if not the Heisman favorite.
So who do we think now? So we're there, right?
Jaden Daniels keeps putting up these big numbers against
lesser competition.
Which, like
again,
I said, Bo
Nix
did
same thing.
That same thing.
Yeah.
I think the difference here is that one team could potentially make the college football playoff.
So, from our Heisman candidates out there right now, who do you think's leading this thing? I know Bo Nix is at the forefront of it.
Leader in the clubhouse right now, I would say, is Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
Bo Nix is in that conversation. Yeah. Michael Penix Jr. at Washington's in that conversation. Yep. Marvin Harrison Jr. at Ohio State's in that conversation.
One of the few non-quarterbacks trying to win this award.
And if you want another non-quarterback to put in there, T'Vondre Sweat from University of Texas, I think he's probably in that top 10 of the Heisman favorites, but he's on the backside of that because he's a defensive lineman.
That's right. This is a quarterback-driven award.
Maybe J.J. McCarthy from Michigan. Probably in that conversation
that's a good one. But it will be interesting to see. I have to believe that a lot of it's going to come down these next couple of weeks. At least it should, because they're entering some competition play that they're going to have to step up in. All right. For all these teams, really, these players on these teams. We got rivalry week is this week. We've got conference championships
in 2 weeks. We got Army and Navy next week. It's the only game next week, by the way.
That is true. So it's, a lot of these teams are going to have to, and these players are going to have to show up and show out. And that is where we really do see us, because you'll get 3 or 4 strong games maybe during the year.
Conference championship is the week before Army Navy.
Is it? That's right. Army Navy is the week after the conference championships. It's the final game of the regular season,
which is kind of weird. It should be before, because conference championships to me is kind of like, I feel like that's the start of the postseason.
Yeah.
But Army Navy, by the way, both teams need one win to get bowl eligible.
Which
adds
you gotta love that.
Another wrinkle for that game.
Which is cool. Which is that makes you want to watch the game because there's something to play for. And we're seeing that a lot. Jaden Daniels is playing for the Heisman this week against A&M. It's his to lose, in my opinion. And that's quite possible.
Yeah. I mean, I would say largely yes. It depends on Michael Penix.
What they do.
I think Michael Penix is – they're probably 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we haven't seen teams that weren't going to be playing for the national title. We've seen those kinds of players win the Heisman before. I mean, Johnny Manziel won the Heisman, and his team was, 10-2, 9-3 that regular season. So it's not unheard of. I mean, it's not impossible that Jaden Daniels wins it. I think there will be some kind of bias towards Michael Penix if Washington makes the playoff.
Maybe so. So I'll ask y'all this. Do you think this award because here this really is the thing. To me, it's kind of like the MVP award in the NFL too. So should this award not be given out until after the seasons are over with? And
they don't give it out till the week before the national championship.
Well, that's what I mean. Until after all football is played, it's all done. Who was the best college football player this year?
Well, even the NFL awards, they don't come out until right before the Super Bowl.
That is exactly my point again.
So the NFL doesn't wait till after the Super Bowl either.
But that's my point. Should these awards not wait until the seasons are done? We've got through all the championship games. Because
I think by the time you're getting ready for your national title or you're getting ready for your Super Bowl, that's the focus. That's the only award that matters at that point.
Oh, I agree with you. But as far as talking about your top players, especially to me, it's more so in college. Because your true competition should come. And we're going to see this in the playoffs going forward when they expand it. That real competition you're playing against comes at the end of the season for the most part. Rivalry week, we'll see it sometimes. Conference championships, we definitely see it because for the most part, your strength of competition goes up, except for one or two of these here or there that kind of squeak in because they got the divisional stuff.
You know what, Reels? I'm looking at these numbers, and I'm kind of coming around on Jaden Daniels. He actually has more passing yards, not by much, it's not dramatic, than Michael Penix. But he's got 6 more touchdowns and 3 fewer interceptions. And that's not even counting that he's also LSU's leading rusher on the year. He's rushed for over 1,000 yards and has 10 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Reels, you might be absolutely correct.
And I think he's played better competition, right?
Yeah, he's played in the SEC.
Far better competition.
He's played Alabama. He's played Ole Miss. He's playing the A&Ms, but he's also playing the Arkansas. And he's playing the Mississippi States.
But we get that a lot. But even those teams, I think, are better than, like, if you're talking about losing teams. Even some of the SEC's worst teams, I think, are better than some of these other trash teams and some of these colleges.
You look at LSU's 3 losses this year. Yeah. They're to Alabama, Ole Miss, and Florida State.
All top 10 teams, pretty much.
No.
Big time top teams.
And they only played Ole Miss close. Florida State and Alabama kind of dog walked them.
Yeah. But you're talking about top 4 teams.
But still, what Jaden Daniels has done, he also has a QBR of 93.5, by the way.
Yeah.
If you just want to get into some really nerdy numbers. So, you know what? I think Reels might be right. Jaden Daniels, if he goes off in this game against A&M and beats them, he might be the Heisman winner.
It's quite possible. Because he's right. I mean, and what we talked about is right. These are regular season awards that they're giving out.
Correct.
All right. So these aren't definitely not anything else.
But they will factor in all stats.
They will.
So if you play in a bowl game that happens before that Heisman award, your stats from that bowl game get factored in.
Yeah, and they can affect it. But I think I like his chances better just because of who they play. And again, I think it's because the competition in the SEC, 1 or 2 teams notwithstanding, is still better than most competition anywhere in these other conferences.
Yeah, so Washington now has wins against 4 ranked opponents. Then number 8 Oregon beat them 36-33. Then number 20 USC beat them 52-42. Then number 18 Utah 35-28, and then number 11 Oregon State this past weekend 22-20.
Well, USC has fallen so hard.
Yeah, it's been
Good
a rough year.
grief.
7-5 on the year.
Yep.
Finished it off by losing a ugly game to UCLA.
Yep.
In the Battle of Los Angeles. Here, to put it in perspective, USC finished their season losing 5 of their last 6 games.
I'm not sad about it.
Now, every team they lost to, with the exception of UCLA, was a ranked opponent. So they lost to then number 21 Notre Dame. The following week at number 14, against number 14, then number 14 Utah. They get back on track with a 1-point victory over Cal. Then they lose to then number 5 Washington. Then they went to Oregon the following week, lost to then number 6 Oregon, and then followed that up with a loss against UCLA.
I said Jaden played a great game against Bama up until that big hit that little rocked it.
What's his classification, Jaden Daniels? Let me see here. He's a senior.
Ooh.
I think that Heisman Trophy might push him up into that, first, second round conversation, though.
It will definitely help his stock going into the draft, without question.
And of course, we'll get all into that come February when the combine rolls around.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. That'll be fun. Anyway, to talk about. All right, guys, we appreciate y'all tuning in. Thanks for tuning in to Undefined Blitz. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Lots of football. The CFP comes out tomorrow night. The new committee. We're going to see what their rankings look like compared to what the APs were. Who do they have as their top 4 teams going into the playoffs? Getting ready for next week, too, especially. But we got to get through Rivalry Week, and it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you enjoy your football this week. Hope you enjoy your family this week. Until then, we'll see you guys back here next Monday.